Parents often need to find someone to watch their children, someone other than a professional child care provider. A babysitter can be a big help for parents when they have to be away. But how do you know you've chosen the right babysitter? And what should you discuss with a sitter before you leave the house? Well, we caught up with a few parents who talked about what to expect when searching for the right fit for their families.
Well, I invited two of my friends over today, Josie, who's a mom, and James, who's a dad and also a physician, to talk about how to find the right babysitter. So I think I can speak for a lot of parents when I say finding a good babysitter can be pretty tough.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility, and you want to make sure that you have the right person watching out for your family.
And it also takes quite a bit of thought, too, to find the right fit for both you and your children.
That's right. Sometimes people want to find the first person who's willing, but that's not really the best idea.
No. Sometimes they'll choose a younger teen who's not necessarily ready to supervise others, or who may not know what to do in an emergency. Or they'll choose another family member, but if they're not prepared to watch your kids, it's not the right choice.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the basic things we need to do to find a good babysitter. What works good for you guys?
You know, I like to make sure that I have somebody who's at least 13 years old. I want somebody who's mature and who's ready to be in charge of my family, that they're committed to that. I'd also like to make sure that I get references from other parents before I use them, so then I can know a little bit about them.
As a physician and a dad, I also like to make sure they have some kind of training. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Red Cross, the YMCA, they all have babysitting courses. Babysitters are usually pretty proud to show you their certification if they have it. And a great part of these courses is that if you take it, you also get training in first aid or CPR. That's a huge plus.
So what do you guys think about having an older brother or sister watching younger siblings? Does that work for you?
Sometimes. I mean, if you're going to have a sibling watch, they should be at least 13 years of age or older. I think also it's a good idea for them to have some kind of babysitter training. Oh, and make sure that you lay down the rules about who's in charge when you're gone. That works the best.
Yeah, fighting siblings can be a big problem. Nobody's happy. And that's why it's a great idea to set some ground rules which are helpful for everybody and just as important for a sitter who's not a family member.
How can I be sure that my babysitter's prepared to stay with the kids?
It's a good idea to think about what you expect from the babysitter first, and then have a conversation with the babysitter and with your kids about what activities you want them to do together. This avoids all kinds of confusion and problems while you're away.
That's a great idea. There are some important things that every parent needs to have a conversation about. Make sure that your babysitter knows where to find all of your emergency contact numbers, like Poison Help phone numbers, and make sure that all of those numbers are available by the telephones everywhere throughout the house.
I also like to make sure that the babysitter has my cell phone number as well as my schedule of while I'm away, as well as some alternative emergency contacts like a neighbor or a family member. Your children need to know this information too. I taught mine this when they were really young.
You know, in our house, we make it a rule that the sitter never leaves the child alone, even for a second. That means no phone, no computer. The babysitter really needs to be spending all of their time with the child.
Exactly. That's why I like to have a discussion about rules for both the children and the sitter. You might talk to them about things your kids really like to do, and you might also have concerns about limiting TV time or computer time.
You know, I also talk about what to eat and what not to eat.
That's really important. The sitter will understand what your child likes to eat and whether any medications need to be given while you're gone. Actually, some of the parents in my practice tend to prepare food ahead of time for both the kids and the sitter so that the sitter isn't distracted with food preparation.
Okay, so let's talk about emergencies. I know for me at my house, the most important thing is that the sitter know to call 911 if there's an emergency, and then call me.
I like to make sure that my babysitter knows where to find flashlights and the first aid kit.
And it may seem excessive, but make sure you go over your fire escape plan and backup plan with the sitter. Make sure they know what to do if the fire alarm goes off or if the carbon monoxide detector goes off too. So if the unexpected happens, they're ready. And you can also help by making sure that all the household safety hazards are put away, like detergents and poisons, knives, and if you have firearms, make sure that all guns are unloaded and locked away in a cabinet.
So this is really fun to talk about today and some real important information that I hadn't thought about before. So what are the 3 things that really hit home for you guys?
Number 1, babysitters should be at least 13 years old and have babysitter training.
Number 2, post emergency and contact numbers by every phone.
Number 3, talk about family rules and safety plans in case of emergency.
Planning ahead and making a list of responsibilities and safety precautions to discuss with your sitter, make sure that they're doing their job correctly. Not only will that help keep your children safe, but it also will give you greater peace of mind while you're away.